everyone, and welcome to the Do It Now podcast. Today, I am so excited to talk to DeLisa Seals, who has a new book coming out, which I'm so excited. It's called Clearing the Room, and I can't wait to hear about it. And DeLisa, I want to just remind the audience and remind myself, we met in a group, correct? Is it Sean Kelly's group?
Do the big, and then Stacy had the I forget which challenge. I joined so many of her challenges.
I think it's the Stacy Lauren Do the Thing collaboration community. Is that correct? Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we get to sort of hear each other and see each other a little bit in these communities. And I first heard about you and your book in Sean Kelly's group. So I'm dying to hear more about it. But first of all, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, what you do, why you wrote this book?
This book is Clearing the Room, and it is my healing journey. Just poems I've written over the years. I'll be 50 years old in a couple of weeks, and I just said I just need to get I don't know, just to get this out, you know, all this writing, all of this, stuff, and just going through things in the past 4 years, um, getting out of a abusive relationship 4 years ago during COVID, and my son and I were staying in a hotel and securing us housing and doing doing all of that, and at the same time going to college and helping a kid. I have my son who's going into 7th grade, so I'm being the teacher to him and being a student at the same time, and still graduating Magna Cum Laude, and still, you know, I mean, God has blessed me so much. And I just want other women to know that they're not alone in their healing journey, because I went through it alone, because I just isolated myself. And I think that wasn't really a great idea to do. So, yeah, so this book is just the journey I went on.
That's so beautiful, to hear that you were going through this very challenging time and you felt alone and by yourself. And so it sounds sort of like a gift that you're giving to people, because you want to make sure if they're going through something similar, that they have something inspiring. So are there certain types of stories and poems then that are in the book?
Yes. One of my chapters is called Love, Loss, and Everything in Between. So I can relate to a lot of like heartbreak and just loss in my life. So it's just, and then getting to where there's a chapter of my book called Righting the Wrongs, WRITING. So getting to the point where I finally start putting God first in my life, instead of making him, like a sidekick in my story. Like, hey, I'll go to you and I'll pray when I really, really need something,
Mm-hmm.
So the end of the book is more of a journey of me finding myself, correcting myself, finally loving myself, loving my own company. I finally have good friends around me, like for a long time, I wouldn't even invite female friendships into my life at all, because I was always felt like, well, will they like me or will they not like me? All these self-esteem issues. So now it's, even with this book, it's me accepting not just myself, but everything that's coming with it. And it's just so great just to meet the people that I've been, so grateful to me, and just be in the groups that I've been in, and even speaking now in this podcast. I would have never done this in a million years.
Oh, wow. Oh, isn't it amazing what bravery and courage comes out in us when we go through very difficult and challenging times? I feel so aligned with what you're saying. It really resonates with me because I went through some very similar things during very similar times, right? During the lockdown, and became, we were all very isolated during that time, whether we wanted to be or not, and it's so beautiful that you are now sharing these stories to support other people and inspire other people. And I love this idea. Have you been writing since you were a child? Or I know you say you were a head clerk at the library?
Yes.
So you've always had a love and a passion for books and writing?
Yes. And I've always wrote a little bit during, like as a teenager, but never really did too much journaling or anything. More in my 20s that I start doing the whole journaling thing and writing and going to poetry slams and doing poetry in front
Mm.
of people and doing that kind of thing. Um, but always writing. Oh, I mean, it's amazing. I have tons and tons of journals, just just writing that I go back to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I going through? Why did I write that?
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, but always words have always been my my go-to all the time.
Oh, that's so good to hear that it could be this place of where you can express yourself and feel safe. But tell me the difference between writing a book or a collection of poetry and storytelling, and then doing it live at a poetry, what would you call it? The poetry slam?
Slam. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, writing a book, I think I could be a little bit more anonymous,
Mm.
you know,
Hmm.
rather than being in front of people. And when I'm in front of people, like storytelling helped me tell my story in a different way. And it gave me a new level of confidence because I'm so used to just writing things down and getting it out. And storytelling, which I loved, I'm part of a group called the Spark Storytellers in Lisbon, Ohio, and they show you how to structure the story so
Mm.
that it could be effective and that you could reach the right people. And it's all about the structure of it. And I'm like, okay, so once you, yeah, and then to get up for 8 minutes and tell your story and you have to remember it, it's really, really challenging because with poetry, I've always had it in my hand. I always had this crutch. So with this book now, it's like, oh, I can finally get at least some of it, some of what I want to say out,
Mm.
and I can do it all at once instead of little bitty pieces.
Mm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so also I imagine at these poetry slams, you're getting the immediate feedback, right, of how they're reacting to it. And
Right.
do you have more books planned? Is this something now, because you said you have so many journals, you probably have a lot of content to go back to, right?
Well, yeah. And one of my friends just says, she says, well, until your next book. I said, what? You know, just like what you said. She said, wait, were you going to do another one, right? And I'm like, I just got this one out, but I am planning on it. I am, and right now I'm writing a one woman show right now about my grandmother. So it's just like always writing, and that's what I've been working on now. But yeah, I mean, another book is in the works because I
Mm.
mean, I think there's just a lot of women that just need to know that they're not the only ones going through something.
Mm.
And it just makes them even brave to, I mean, tell your story. Just tell your story. There's, storytelling
Mm.
it helps you to write it out and just to see just how far you've come sometimes. Sometimes we can, and I know I'm a victim of it too, but you say, oh my goodness, I haven't made it that far, or I should be this far, or and then but when you really look at it in hindsight, like I've done that, and it's like, man, I've come a really long way. Like I can really congratulate myself, and I think we need to celebrate every victory, celebrate even if it's something small. We need to do that.
Oh, I love that. Celebrate every victory. That is a good one. I'm going to remember that one. Now, you mentioned you're doing a one-woman show about your grandmother. So can you tell us a little bit about your grandmother? Because she must be pretty interesting and special. You're writing a
Well,
one-woman show.
right. Well, I'm the oldest of four, but I was raised up by my grandparents. So my grandmother, oh my goodness, she was a really sassy little lady, and she grew up in Mississippi, and so we grew up with very old school values, and I then when you're younger, you're like, oh no, like
Mhm.
because it was growing up with in that era where there was so much going on, not as much as kids are going through right now, but you wanted to go to parties and you wanted to do everything the teenagers wanted to do.
Mhm.
And she was more like, no, like I was so structured about chores and doing different things. So, I mean, but my upbringing was, I mean, so good. I mean, I came from such good people and my grandparents, and I thank them for that because of that, I know that's the way I am now, even with my work ethic is the, and everything is because of them and who I am. And that's why even with the writing now, she gives me so much to write about because of her little sayings and quotes and and grandma.
Ah, can you share one of your favorites of her quotes for people?
Well, she used to tell me all the time. She used to just always pound into me, but she says everything I'm telling you, you won't appreciate till you're 30 years old. You know, he said you won't appreciate everything I'm telling you.
Right.
Just even things because since she grew up poor, she liked to keep things, and and we used to have two hutches, just full of Corningware that she never ever used, and because Grandma kept everything. And she we would use paper towel. It could be something simple as paper towel, and she would say if paper towel wasn't here, you wouldn't use it. you know, you know, but showing us,
Mhm.
hey, because it's here now, will it be here later? To learn how to appreciate things and to not just even with money, not just to spend it, but save some money. Put things away for a rainy day. All those things come back to me now at this age.
Mm. She sounds like a wise lady, very wise lady. And
Mm.
can you tell us a little bit about your healing journey? I know you shared a little bit about it, but if you have any advice for other women going through a healing journey of their own, things that you learned during yours that you have advice for people.
My biggest thing is don't isolate yourself. That was my thing that I did was isolate myself. And that was one thing about me growing up is that I always would go off into a room. My grandmother would always open my bedroom door and say, "Come downstairs." She always made sure I didn't isolate myself, but
Mm,
I would always do that. I would always go off on my own. And I started thinking when I was writing this one woman show that she would always tell me that, and I said, then those kind of things were my foundation, like, okay, well, I think we need to, on this, I know there's like different people are going on different healing journeys and they're going through different, you know,
mhm,
things to do life, especially childhood. We go through different things, but always find people that will listen to you. Go to a therapist, get the help that you need.
mhm,
um and then don't beat yourself up if you fall up backwards a little bit. That's why I said celebrate every victory, because there are times where you're going to maybe cry, get upset, or hey, you might just curse somebody out that day because you just weren't feeling that bad. You just weren't feeling that. But don't stay there. Don't stay in that sadness, don't stay in that depression. Always kind of reach out and say, hey, I'm having a really bad day, I just need to talk to somebody. Or if you need to write, if you need to get a journal and just sit and write and get those feelings out, because we do go through feelings. Don't numb yourself. That was always my thing, that I would say, you know what, that doesn't matter, and I would just move on. But no, later on, I'm like, that did matter, that did upset me. So being honest with yourself and being honest on your journey about what you can, and having boundaries is a big one. I mean, there's certain things that people can, or places that people can go, or or say, and you're like, no, I just don't want to go there. Or when you said that to me, that didn't make me feel good.
mhm.
You have to be honest with yourself, and you
Yeah,
can't put yourself back in a place where it's triggering for you.
right, right. That's so good. That's so smart. And it's interesting that you mentioned having, asking for someone to speak to or finding someone to speak to or help you. It reminds me of when I was young that my parents weren't always available. They were sick and I found my aunt and uncle that I could go to. It's that idea of going and searching for the person. And it doesn't always have to be who you think it would be, like your parents or your partner, if you don't have one, but find somebody, right?
Mm.
And that is the resiliency of children. I think we naturally go searching for someone uh, who will help us, but we need to remember that as an adult, right? Is in times it's okay to ask for help. I know that that's something we sometimes forget to do. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I want to ask, I always like to ask, who has had the greatest impact on your life? Would that be your grandmother, or was there someone else in your life that has had the greatest impact?
My grandmother. Yeah. I mean, like how you said, to always, find the help.
Mhm.
Um, that's how she was all the time. Find people that you can talk to. So, I mean, she did. She has such a great impact on my life because, I mean, growing up and not being exposed to what other kids were exposed to. And I grew up in a middle class home. I wasn't grow up poor. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it was like, so I had access to so many things. I mean, my grandparents, they always wanted to travel, so they bought this Winnebago, and we went
Mm.
with my sister and two cousins, and we traveled across and went to California because I have an aunt and two uncles in California. We did a big trip to California, and so that love of travel impacted me too because they were people that would just get in a car, and I knew my great grandfather, my
Mm.
my great grandfather um my grandmother's father,
Mhm.
my grandmother's father. And so we would get in the car and go down to Mississippi during the summers and go see him and everything like that. So, they were people that believed in family and the close
Mhm.
of family and always being close. And my grandmother cooking big, dinners for Thanksgiving and Christmas and family coming over. So yeah, all those kind of things now you when you're growing up, what you get away from. But now I think at this age, I want that all back, all that nesting kind of a thing.
Right. I love that word. That's so good. Nesting.
You want that nesting.
I like that. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
good. Now, you had mentioned earlier about scriptures that have helped you on your journey. Are there any in particular that you'd like to share that you think might be helpful for others, or that you just want to share with us that helped you?
Psalms 139 was a big one where I ended up getting tattooed on my arm.
Wow.
um, it was a big one. Is I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it so, so well. And it was my reminder because even when I didn't feel that way, I
Mhm.
had to read it, especially when I didn't feel that way. And to know that he knew where I was, and on this journey that I wasn't alone, and that I mean, going through the hard times,
Mhm.
and um, especially during like COVID, and then you
Mhm.
know, but coming out of that relationship and being in a hotel room and not knowing, you know, or how long are we going to stay here? Like are we going to be, but making that big move, and that was one of the things before then. That was 2 years before where I made the big move from Youngstown to a smaller rural town. I've been there now 6 years, but I knew God told me to stay there. So I knew I wouldn't go back. But I was like, Lord, if I'm supposed to stay here, then show me where I'm supposed to
Right.
go. Because I'm like staying in this hotel, we're eating DoorDash, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, So
Mm.
show me where I'm supposed to go. And the door did open. So it
Mm.
just reminds me, that he's close all the time.
Mhm.
He promised to never leave me nor forsake me.
Mm.
So, some scriptures that I had to hold on to. And then getting to the point where it was like, for I'm young and now I'm old, but I've yet to see the righteous forsaken or their seed begging bread. Like I'm not without anything.
Mm.
I've never, even it may not look like I should be where I think I should be.
Mhm.
I'm exactly where I need to be. And
Mhm.
I am,
Mm.
I am,
Oh, beautiful. And, I really lean on my faith as well. And I certainly did during those times. And I often wonder, how do people get through those times who don't have faith? You know?
Mm, hmm. Yeah, because it's really challenging when you don't have something to hold on to.
Hmm.
You need some kind of hope, and um and there are times where you're just like, God, are you there? Are you speaking? But he always does these little things
Yes.
that reminds me that he's there close, or could be just a phone call from somebody say, hey, I was thinking about you, and you're like, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes it's not this loud audible voice that God is saying, hey, I'm here. It's just the little things that he does that reminds me that he's close.
Mm, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And now, can you share with us a little bit about what you're working on next? I think you mentioned your one woman show. Is that your next big project? And when and where and how can we hear about it, know about it?
Well, I started my Facebook page called Clearing the Room Book, and so I'm going to be posting on there my book launches, and but right now, one of my friends, we are working on the one woman show. She has a huge backyard, and a stage in her backyard, so we're working on doing like a little rough draft of the one woman show,
Mhm,
and getting that out there. So that should be maybe by August or so, just getting it done and getting it out. Because I know me, if I sit on something, it will be a year and it won't just be sitting. So now I'm putting, gas, and I'm just going. And I don't know exactly when I'm going to do another book, but it is in the works. It is. I'm collecting more poetry, because my issue is always, and that's why I have even this with this book. It's like, is this enough? Is this going to
mhm,
be okay? Is that all right? And I said, nope, it's good. Let it go and just get it done. But yes, always writing. I'm going to be starting to do more storytelling with the Spark Storyteller. So I want to get back on stage and keep doing storytelling and keep doing that, keep being in the front of people. So
mhm. Can you share with our listeners, because, it is called Do It Now for a reason. I want to inspire people to do it now. And you were able to write a book and now you're writing this one woman show. And I've heard that the statistics are something like only 2% of people actually complete their book and finish it. Can you give us some tips or ideas of what you used or worked on, or how you were able to have the discipline to finish your book?
yeah, well, that's an interesting statistic because, working in the library and you see all these
I
books,
know,
you think
right?
everybody's writing a book. You're like, everybody's writing a book.
I know. I'll find it somewhere, but I read something like that. It's because, like, everybody wants to write a book, but a lot of people start the book, but very few people finish the book. So I'm just curious what ideas you have to share with people to help them finish the project.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially if you think that you're, I can get like that. Oh, I'm so busy,
Mm,
but you can get 15 or 20 minutes and just, even if you walk around with a tablet or something, just write it down. Write your book down. If you can't sit at a laptop, if
mhm,
you're just looking at your kids, I used to journal a lot when my youngest son used to have football practice.
mhm.
I would journal in the car. I would just sit there while waiting for football practice and just journal or write, because
Good.
I had an hour. I had that hour of time. So a there's always a space of time that you can just carve out. Because even when you're cooking and while the pasta's boiling, just
Right.
write. Just something,
Oh,
just
good. Yeah,
you
these are good ideas. It's that idea that we don't need this huge chunk of time, and we're
know.
gonna wait till we have that chunk of time, which we never end up having. You're saying just take the moments when you have them. If you have 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, do some writing.
Yep,
Yeah.
even on your hour lunch break at work, just sit there. Sometimes I would take my laptop and just do it. I mean, because my printed copy is on Barnes and Noble, and these
Mhm.
are free resources, and so you can just, get everything into Word and then just upload it into, you know, go into being impressed and just upload it. And, if whatever margins they might have you set, it took me a few hours because I'm going to figure out myself. And I'm like, just watch the video and they'll give you an overview video of
Right,
it,
right.
instead
Oh,
of jumping into it, could save myself 2 hours. But I mean, the resources are there if you just look for them, and then also find people, ask them for help. There's always somebody around you because once you say that you're going to do your book and once you start writing, the people will come. I mean, it's amazing how that happens. It's
wow.
amazing. People will come. You'll just be somewhere. You could be in the doctor's office or anywhere, and it's amazing. Something you're like, oh, you wrote a book? Well, how do you do that? You will find people that way once you start just opening your mouth and say, hey, I'm going to finish this, or even start working on it.
Mhm.
Things will come to help you complete it.
Wow, that's so beautiful. That is such a
Mhm.
great, great idea. Is just put it out there in the universe and the universe will provide. I love that. And can you let everyone know where they can find your book and about some of your other places online that they can find you?
Yes. I'm on Facebook, just DeLisa Seals.
Mhm.
Nothing. The social media site, Clearing the Room Book, and on Facebook. And the printed copy is on Barnes and Noble. You can search Clearing the Room, and it's there. And I have the ebook. It's on Amazon Kindle, and so you can go on and search "Clearing the Room," and you can get the book there. But
Wonderful.
yeah,
Wonderful. Okay, and then my last question for you. How did you come up with the title and what does it represent? Clearing the room.
oh, it's so much. Um, I've had to, like I said, learn to love myself, learn to like myself, like my laugh, like everything about myself.
Mm.
And in order to do that, I've had to clear everything out. I had to get all the cobwebs out. I had to clear my mind.
Oh.
I had to clear my soul. I had to clear everything out and actually sit and start being more mature in my feelings. Start saying, well, why do you feel this way? Why are you, and I'm a very inquisitive person. I can ask other people's questions. So why can't I ask my own self these questions? So I started really soul searching and clearing the room. Even one of the poems I have in here is called Letting the Light In,
Mm.
and just pulling back the curtains and seeing the dust on the floor and just
Mm.
clearing up everything in this room. It's too cluttered. Everything in my mind was too cluttered,
Mm.
everything. And why do I keep adding more stuff to this room and I can't fit anything else in? I
Mm.
can't fit anything else in this room. I'm just cluttering this room. So clearing that room was the title because it was just time to really see how big this space is, big my heart is, how big God is in this space. But I couldn't even see it because I had too much stuff around me, too many people, too many voices, too much everything. And also with clearing the room is a tactical thing.
Mm.
And when you go with police officers or even military, like I like to watch a lot of these shows, and they will say they want to sweep the room. They will clear the room before they go in and make sure there's not an enemy in there. And they never go alone. They always go with the team. They never go by themselves. So to clear the room, you've got to get with a group of people who have your same goals, who you can do these finger motions to and say, hey, don't go there or don't go there, but you go in with the team and you sweep the room to make sure that it's okay, that
Mm.
there's nothing there to harm others. So
Mm.
in turn, you're going in to prepare a way for other people. You're
Mm.
going in, that room is clear. You can go in that book room because that door is open for you now. God opens and closes door, but I went in and swept the room and the enemy is not in that room. I'm in that room and I will go with you if you're scared to go in that room. I will help you. So that room is clear. So this book room is clear
Mm.
for me.
Wow, that was so good. I love that. I'm going to listen to that again and again, clearing the room. And I just had these ideas of also it's like having someone who has your back with you when you go in there to do that work, you know, it's amazing. Uh, Thank you for
Because
sharing. What
yeah,
do you
because even when you go into the room, you're going in with weapons. And the Bible says our weapons are carnal, but mighty through Christ Jesus. We have the word of God. So we could take that weapon with us into the room and we're armed. You know, we have a
Yeah.
full armor of God that we're supposed to put on every morning. So we're completely covered. So yeah, we need to go in and start clearing rooms. We
Wow.
need to start making ways like you're just like you're doing with this podcast. I
Hmm.
mean, you're clearing rooms for people. You know, they're coming on here telling their story and speaking their truths, and you
Hmm.
know, it's clearing for
Hmm.
them. It helps other people to know that it's okay for them.
Mm. So beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your stories of faith. I think it's so sweet and beautiful and sort of miraculous that most of the people that I end up being connected with who end up coming on my podcast, somewhere in their story, share a story of their faith. And I think it's beautiful that we talk about it and offer that up to other people, you know, who,
Oh,
who might not know how much faith can help us and how centering and grounding and just loving and amazing that it can be during, especially during times of crisis, you know? So thank you so much for speaking with me today. And I hope everybody goes and gets a copy of the book, Clearing the Room, which now I really understand the title. It has so much more meaning. And as you said, it's available at Barnes and Noble and the ebook format on Amazon Kindle, and everyone can find you on Facebook. DeLisa Seals, thank you so much for being with me today. And I want to thank everybody for listening. And everybody go out there and do it now. Do it now, do it now, because the worst thing that we could do to ourselves is not become the person that we could be in this lifetime.
yeah, and just think of who we're not meeting. Like I would have never met you if I never released this book. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't even know who else I'm going to meet. I would have never met Sean Kelly if I would have never started doing the one woman show. Like it's like I didn't know, and that's my biggest thing that I was just I mean on a hamster wheel for so long,
Mhm.
just going around in circles doing this, you know,
Mhm.
and it makes me sit here and say I didn't know I was me. I'm finally me after all these years. I am finally me. I'm introduced to myself and what I could do. And even doing this podcast, it was like I was talking to my mom last night and she said, well, don't be nervous. Don't be. And I said, I don't know if I'm scared to do it. I'm excited to do it, but I know I have to do it.
Mhm.
No matter what, I have to do it. So here goes my laptop. It just started crashing. And I said,
Oh,
nope, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Not gonna
right?
happen.
We were, that's the evil one trying to keep us from sharing our message and using our voice. And you said, no,
Mhm.
I'm going to be there today. So thank you so much for this. That's
Well,
wonderful.
thank you for inviting me. It's just, I mean, this is really good, and it's necessary. It's necessary, and thank you for your story and
Mhm.
everything for always sharing, for always being authentic. That's why I go through your Do It Now, and I look at all your posts, and I
Well,
scroll, and
yeah.
and your other podcasts because it's really good.
Yeah, we have very similar stories and experiences, I think, especially within the last few years. And it's nice because I'm hearing in you my story too of finally later in life through these hard times that happened, I finally discovered myself and my voice and sort of self-love, self-compassion, my value, right? So
Mhm.
there are these wonderful things that can happen, and
Mhm.
we can find ourselves and I feel more comfortable now in my skin than I ever have, and I'm more confident than I've ever been. And I'm taking more risks and I'm feeling more fear also than I ever have because I'm trying to do things that I didn't necessarily have the bravery to do when I was younger because I was concerned about what other people thought or whatever the things are that we learn from our environment or our society. But I do think that my faith also gives me strength. So I'm glad we could share that conversation as well. So, well, I'm excited to hear more about what you have going in the future, and I'll definitely have you on the Do It Now podcast again. And again, thank you everyone for listening today.
Well, thank you so much, and you just have a blessed day.
Everybody have a blessed day. Bye-bye.